All right, this is page 4, the last page of our practice test A. Okay, so now we have 2 percentage questions. We're going to have a look at our notes for this really quick. Okay, this is our generic sentence. Percentage is a percent of base. So we're going to match up our question here to this sentence and see which piece is missing, and then we're going to use the formula. Okay, so I have here, if I match it up, I have percent of 421. So that means I have the percent and the base, and I am missing the percentage. Okay, so we look down here, percentage equals percent times base. Okay, another way to think about it is we talked about the word of. It's always going to mean multiplication when we're doing these kind of questions. Okay, so now that we know we're going to multiply these two things, I'm going to move this out of the way. And before we use a percent, we always have to make it a decimal. So there is no decimal right now in that number of 65%. So we're going to spawn a decimal at the end, right? And we're going to move it 2 to the left because we're dividing by 100. So that means I have 421 times 0.65. Okay, let's do our long multiplication. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21. Placeholder 0. I'm going to cross that 5 off and that 1 because I'm done. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry the 1. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Okay, now I'm going to add 5, 6, 3, 7, 2. All right, I'm not done yet because one of my first numbers had a decimal in it, the 65. So I need to count how many decimal places I need before I get to the end of this number. Okay, so let's move it 1, 2. So this has 2 decimal places. This number up here does not have any decimal places. It's a 0. We're going to add these together. Obviously, that's 2. That tells us in our final answer, we're going to go 2 decimals from the left. 1, 2. And we're going to put a decimal place right there. Okay, so our final answer is just 273.65. Notice there is no percent sign here because I already have a percent in my problem. I'm not going to add a percent or convert it to a percent. This is just a number. All right, if we look at our next problem, let's match it up to our sentence. Okay, 75 is what percent of 30? Well, if I match it up here, I'm given a percentage. What percent is missing? And 30 is the base. So that means I am trying to find the percent. Okay, so I'm going to look down here. Percent equals percentage divided by base. So up here, this is my percentage. This is my base. So I'm going to do 75 divided by 30. Okay, 75 divided by 30. Okay, 30 into 75, that goes twice. 2 times 30 is 60. That leaves 15 left over. We cannot leave it with a remainder of 15. We need to have a couple of decimal places, right? Because we're going to turn this into a percent. So let's keep going. In order to keep going, I need to add a decimal place here and put a 0. So I can bring a 0 down, right? Because if I just put a 0 here without the decimal, I've changed my number from 75 to 750, and that's not correct. So we want to keep it as 75. And before I forget, this decimal, I have to move it up right here. So now it's 2 point something as my answer. Okay, let's continue. 30 into 150. Well, 3 into 15 is 5 times, so that means this must be 5 times as well. 5 times 30, 5 times 0, 0, 5 times 3 is 15. 0 left over. Okay, I'm done now. I have 0 remainder and no more numbers to bring down. So this is my answer. However, this is not my percent. Okay, so I have to take my decimal answer, which is 2.5, and times it by 100 in order to get my percent. When we multiply by 100, our decimal goes to the right. 2 zeros means 2 places. Okay, so I'm going to take 2.5, move it 1, 2, add a 0 there, and that equals 250%. Okay, so my answer. Now I'm going to always check back at my problem. Does it make sense? Which I didn't do up here, but we're going to do here. Okay, 250%, that sounds weird. Is that right? Well, let's look. 75 is what percent of 30? Well, 75 is much bigger than 30. It's well over 100% of 30, and it's more than double of 30. So it makes sense that this number is 250% of our base number. And that's correct. Okay, 2 more problems to go. Buddy bought 2 candy bars at $2.49 each, a bag of crisps at $1.69, and a fountain drink at 89 cents. How much did he spend? Okay, this is a simple arithmetic adding problem. So let's do it. We've got 2 of these, so you can do 2 times this if you want. I'm just going to write it down twice. 249 plus 249 plus 169 plus 0.89. Okay, now what's going to make or break your problem here is if you have your decimal places lined up. Always line up your decimals because that will make sure that your place value is all in line. Okay, I'm adding my dollars, I'm adding my cents. So 9 4 times, that's the same as 9 times 4, which is 36. So 6 out of 3. Then I've got, let's see, 6 and 4 is 10, 18, plus 3 is 21, 25, and 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, remember we started our units as money, so we want to make sure we put money on our answer. It's $7.56. Okay, our last one. Sean earns extra money selling homemade cookies at his youth group on Wednesdays. On Monday, he spent $57.22 at the grocery store buying the ingredients for 1 month, which would be 4 Wednesday meetings. His cookie sales at the end of each month were as follows: $87.50, $113.75, $38.50, and $110.25. Okay, so this is how much money he made after taking into account his expenses, right? So these are his expenses. How much did he earn? All right, so we need to add up how much he made altogether and subtract off his expenses. So let's line these up. $87.50. Now you can go biggest to smallest, or you can put them in any order. It does not matter. The only thing that matters is that you have these decimal places lined up. So if I put 113 next, I need to make sure the decimal's there. 113 would look like that, and 75 cents. 38.50 and 110.25. Okay, now let's add. 5 and 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 and 5 is 10. 17, 19, 20. Carry the 2. 7 and 3 is 10. 8 and 2 is 10. That makes 20. Carry the 2. 8 and 2 is 10. 11, 12, 15. Carry the 1. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so he made $350 as his total revenue or take on this activity, but he did spend $57.22. So we need to minus off $57.22 so we get his total profit. Well, I can't do these. I need to borrow. So let's go all the way down here. The 4, that would be 10, but I have to borrow. That would be 10, but I have to borrow. And that's a 10. So 10 minus 2 is 8. 9 minus 2 is 7. 9 minus 7 is 2. 4 minus 5, can't do that, so let's borrow again. Make that a 14 minus 5, which is 9. 2 minus 0 is 2. Bring down my decimal place and my dollar sign. So he made $292.78. So let's write that, $292.78 is his total profit.